So if there was one creator that I was to tell you that the Genshin Impact community hated, you can probably guess who it is. It's obviously Tectone. Now obviously, Tectone has been covering a lot of the stuff to do with the Paimon voice actor situation, which I've probably made about like 12 videos on by now, and it just keeps getting worse and worse as the Genshin community seem to be going fully at Tectone for rightfully going after Karina and also some of the other voice actors in the Genshin Impact space for pretty much just being dumbasses. You know, they haven't been, as professional as you'd expect a voice actor to be, and they've been kind of crashing out over on places like Twitter and TikTok, which has just gotten a ton of people fed up. Now you can see the actual like ratio of this video on the Paimon VA situation is actually pretty good. You know, it's only about 200 dislikes, which is pretty decent for, a video kind of going after the Genshin voice actors. And that's because a lot of people are against this, and it's very surprising to see because usually, also for me as well, on my videos or anybody else's videos, the dislike ratio is pretty bad whenever you say anything bad about Genshin Impact. It doesn't matter what it is, you'll get disliked to oblivion just because you talked bad about the game. But recently, it seems like even the Genshin Impact community have come around, but obviously there's still a couple of stragglers, which we're going to go through. And also there's been a little bit of an update on the whole tweet situation, which I talked about yesterday. Now, obviously, as I was talking about yesterday, the account Parrot Pirate, which was the account that originally made this one clip of Paimon from AI, which Tectone featured on his channel, actually made this whole copypasta thing, which was pretty much referencing Breaking Bad. They were doing a copypasta of a Breaking Bad scene and pretty much implemented like Tectone and almost made it to seem like Tectone was the one that commissioned this kind of stuff and he was the one that made it and asked him to make it, which obviously isn't true, and Parrot Pirate also knows this. He was just kind of joking around, and obviously it got a lot of people, tricked, because I was saying surely the voice actors won't actually fall for this. And in my last video, obviously, I talked about the fact that Karina actually fell for it with the fact of them actually reposting a post from this person saying, just to warn you, there's a person who made an AI video saying that he worked for Tectone. And they went ahead and reposted that pretty willingly. And I said, oh, surely they're not that stupid enough to actually repost something like that because, again, it's clearly and obviously fake. Well... You can see it's literally reposted. This is how stupid a lot of these people are. They don't get what is actually going on in the space at the moment. And we have a little bit of an update on that from Parrot Pirate and also some other people as well. For example, this one tweet, which actually got pretty big. This person says, in the state of the Genshin VA madness right now and how many channels are speaking out on it, I need to say this: don't get baited by intentional copy-pasta posts. That's obviously in direct reference to that one post by Parrot Pirate, which was a direct copy-pasta from Breaking Bad, which they changed around a little bit. And obviously they say, like the one dude who did the Paimon AI video, made a post that at first glance looks like a confession to working with Tectone on it. It's actually a Breaking Bad copy-pasta. And then Karina actually goes ahead and replies to this saying, that's why it was so weirdly worded. Okay, I was so confused. Now, that's fine, obviously getting confused about this kind of stuff. I mean, you should have known from the start and you shouldn't make many assumptions. But what I find really weird is the fact that Karina reposted this and uploaded it onto her accounts, or their accounts, sorry, without doing any prior research. And that's the scary part. I feel like it's not the fact that this stuff is being posted, well, it kind of is. It's kind of a mix. It's like more of the fact that Karina did no research and was willing just to repost and spread this fake information about this one creator without doing any research. And obviously, we've had the whole stuff with Jacob Takanashi as well, where they've been going after them, and they've been going after other voice actors and just other people in the space in general, with no actual kind of, evidence or whatever suggesting that. And they've just been going after them blind. And this is just another very, very clear situation of the fact that Karina has been, kind of uninformedly, I don't really know how to say it, like uninformatively posting this kind of stuff against, creators like Tectone, but literally doing nothing, And this is what kind of baffles me, this is supposed to be a professional voice actor who works for Genshin Impact, who's supposed to be speaking out for SAG-AFTRA, supposed to be, being, how are people supposed to believe you whenever you're posting stuff like this? Because it's pure misinformation, And, Karina still hasn't taken down these reposts too. That's the thing. After finding out that this was a copypasta, it's not real, the posts are still up, spreading this misinformation about Tectone, about, this stuff going on. And obviously, they haven't taken it down because obviously that doesn't fit their agenda. It doesn't fit the point of, oh, Tectone's such a bad guy, I can't believe he did this. And obviously it's making Tectone out to seem like he made this, he commissioned it, which obviously was not the fact. And obviously Parrot Pirate here was just making a joke. Now, obviously they keep going. They say, yeah, old school internet experience. Some folks just want to stir the pot for their own fun. best to just keep living your life and ignore them. They say, for sure. They say, yeah, Karina, trust Shrek Tone isn't worth your time. So, again, some people are still mad at Tectone, including, I'm guessing they're part of the Genshin Impact community. They're saying, my whole mentality on this is I'm going to trust the video that was made about it by one of the voice actors, and that overall the whole situation is far, far more complicated than what's made out to be. Which I do agree with. Obviously, the initial situation of the VA stuff is kind of complicated, but I think this stuff to do with Karina and the just blatant misinformation that's being spread about is like a completely different, separate topic. You know, it doesn't really matter about the strikes anymore. It's more about these voice actors going after these creators, going after these people with no evidence. It's not just Karina as well. Obviously, we've had like Kuching's voice actor, everything like that, with them being very hypocritical in the fact that they're trying to like moral high ground, I guess, whenever it comes to like, you know, all of this SAG-AFTRA stuff and everything like that. But they're also attending a pretty horrible event over in the UK that is run by a pretty horrible guy. It is very well known, you know, it's been going on for years and years, and they're still attending this event. There's all of this that's added up around this. It's not even to do with the strike anymore. It's to do with the kind of behavior of these voice actors doing this kind of stuff. Do you think a professional person would go around reposting false information about people? No, they wouldn't. And I feel like as well, Parrot Pirate also like released a post on their community saying, ladies and gentlemen, I've been robbed of total prankster victory. I must scrap my preemptively made victory lap video concerning Karina Botka and the Voice Wars saga, and apologize primarily for having been choked out at the last finish line. It was a pleasure doing business with you. No apologies to anyone else are forthcoming, be they a VA or bold streamer. I never apologize for anything. As always, you and I are the real victims here. I don't even know what it is. Barefoot my win and barefoot of the opportunity to bask in my win. Behind the scenes beluga style breakdown of my sneaky operation and lessons to learn for their use will be dropping later today or tomorrow. So again, they're making a couple more videos on this, which, you know, is very, very interesting. And obviously, you know, they were trying to bait a lot of the community and it worked, you know. And as I said, it's just more scary at the fact that a lot of these voice actors are so blinded by, you know, their hatred for a lot of other people that don't agree with them, that they're doing stuff like this. I think it's okay to be supporting the strikes or whatever you want, however you want. But I think it's a little bit far to be going ahead and just kind of being blinded by this stuff and just going, I'm just going to keep reposting all this false information about Tectone because I'm not going to do any research about it. But because it paints them in a bad light, I'm just going to do it anyways because I don't really care. And also, that combined with all of the crash outs on TikTok, that combined with all the crash outs on Twitter and literally everywhere else, you know, it's just not a very professional setting. And honestly, you know, so many people now are calling for the voice actors to get fired. Even Genshin Impact fans want them to be fired because it's just not how you want the game to be presented, you know? From an outside perspective, you think someone looking into the game, looking at what the voice actors are doing, for example, you know, going on Twitter, stuff like that, do you think that's something that another voice actor would do? Not really, you know? If you take a look at some of the Wuthering Waves voice actors, for example, you know? For example, like the Cartethia one, there's also some other ones. They use their Twitter in a very great way. They use it to kind of repost other people's works, repost stuff about, you know, things they were involved in, whether it's Wuthering Waves or whatever, maybe some fan art from some people. But like what Karina does, just goes around posting stuff about like disabilities and the strikes. Like, come on, can we like actually like be a little bit more professional with this kind of stuff and instead just kind of like tone it down a little bit, because it's one of these things, it's just like, it doesn't paint a very good image for Genshin Impact. You know, Genshin Impact has never really had a good image in the first place with just the game in general, but the voice actors just kind of freaking out like this and just like going on little rants and stuff over online just like makes it even worse for people looking into the game. No one's going to want to play this game if there's voice actors crashing out on all of these like social media platforms, and no one's going to want to play the game, and no one's going to want to listen to a lot of these voice actors if they're out here spreading all of this misinformation. And I think it's honestly getting to a point where it's really, really bad, you know, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And obviously, yeah, we've got tweets and tweets every day. Like, I've made so many videos, you know, as I said, I've made what, like 12 now? Something like that. We're getting up to a pretty high number of videos, and it's not like I'm covering the same thing over and over and over and over again. These are all new things that are happening with all of these voice actors, which just keep getting worse and worse and worse, and they keep making it worse for themselves. It's just like getting to a point where it's like, when do we get rid of them? When does HoYoverse get rid of them? When does HoYoverse fire them? Because honestly, I feel like that's the best course of action for them. It's going to save them a lot of players in the long run, because I've seen many people on different social media sites, for example, TikTok, of people saying they're going to leave just because of this, you know, drama. Genshin Impact fans do not like this. You know, Genshin Impact fans usually are very anti-drama, they're very anti-Tectone and everything like that, but you've got them siding with Tectone. I mean, you know, I like Tectone, he's great, but obviously the Genshin Impact fan base hate him, but for this one, for some reason, you know, all the worlds have collided and stuff, and, you know, these voice actors have actually managed to make them kind of join up together to a point where it's gotten this bad. It's just like, how have we even got into this situation here where, you know, we've got voice actors blatantly spreading stuff about creators in the space just because, you know, they want them to look bad. It's just gotten so bad. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this really quickly because, again, there was all of this stuff that just come out about, you know, some kind of follow-ups to my last video and everything like that. But yeah, this situation is getting worse and worse as it goes on, and hopefully we do see a little bit of a change in the future. But yeah, HoYoverse, take a look at your voice actors, take a look at what they're doing online, and kind of make a, you know, decision on what you're going to do with them, because it's harmed the game. I'm going to say it's harmed the games community. But yeah, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.